Hey there guys, so I know what you're thinking. Yeah, I actually have a video up and it's actually going to be productive this time, so okay. Basically, as you can tell from the title, even though I haven't thought of it yet, this is going to be about self-harm and the causes of self-harm. And when I say the causes, it's not really what I mean. What I mean by the causes is the reasons people do it, why it helps. Because although self-harm doesn't help in the long term whatsoever, it makes everything 20 million times worse, it does help in another way. And I do believe that it literally helps. It doesn't just help with our feelings, I think that it can actually help people get through things. Sorry about the mark on my eye, I hurt it. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the real reasons why people do it. And to begin with, I just want to make something clear, because not everyone knows this. And I thought this myself, and then one day a counsellor that I had said it as well, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. But I think that all self-harmers are actually very, very, very angry people. I'm not saying that they're evil people at all, but I think we all have some hidden away anger that we can't get out, and we think it's aimed at ourselves. And like me, I'm certain it's definitely aimed at myself when I do it. But at the same time, when I think about it, yeah, I do have people who I'm angry at. You know, I didn't think I was angry at them, but then when you really think about it, yeah, you're actually quite furious. And sometimes it helps if you do sort of say, yes, I'm angry, even if you still feel like whatever happened was your fault, or even if it wasn't something that happened and it was just something your whole life that happened. Like, for instance, this is just one of the lighter things that have happened to me, is I was always a freak in school, and I used to sometimes cry saying, what did I do wrong? You know, why did everyone hate me? When I was little, okay, I saved a lot of bugs from being trod on. I cried if they were trod on, but why would that make other people hate me? When I was in high school, yeah, I fell asleep in class and I was ill a lot, but why would that make them hate me? And at first it was, why? You know, what did I do wrong? But now it's, what the hell? What did I do wrong? And I'm angry at those people. I don't get it. I never hurt them. Why do they do it to me? That kind of thing. And usually it can be compared to much worse things, such as abuse, such as things that people have said to you that aren't just people at school, you know. And so I think that although there are hundreds of different reasons for self-harm, I think usually underlying, I don't think I've ever met a self-harmer that hasn't got the right to be angry at someone. And I don't just mean a little bit angry, because everyone has the right to be angry at someone, but really angry at someone. Or angry at an awful lot of people, which makes it really angry. But I think that definitely shows out in cuts that you do and things. I mean, look at the cuts, look at them. They look angry, don't they? They look like either jab, 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 or, you know, even if you sat there and you took your time and you did it very slowly, when you still look at it afterwards, it looks gory, and it looks, you know, dark, and it looks angry. Red, it's angry. The idea of slicing skin, it's definitely angry. The idea of burning skin is anger. Overdosing is anger. The stuff you're doing to your insides, and you can feel it but you can't see it, and it's anger. You know, it's very much the same as anger. But okay, let's go on to some of the actual things that self-harm do to you that probably people are a little bit more aware of, but not much, because to be honest, I've never really understood why I self-harm. I don't think anyone can really get to the absolute bottom of why they self-harm, but I think they can sort of see what kind of category they would probably go into. For example, mine I would probably put into the category of seeing pain that others won't show me. Again, for example, because a lot of things were denied that did happen, and because they were denied, it was almost like they didn't happen. No one saw them, you know. it never happened. There's no marks to prove it. There's no, you know, any marks that were there have gone. And or sometimes I used to feel like my dad was very passive and didn't show me that he was angry or upset, or he didn't show me anything and then he showed me everything. And so self-harm was sort of like, there, I can see the pain, I can see the blood, it is there, it is real, it's right there, and tomorrow it will still be there. It won't disappear by tomorrow. It is there. And I think that's the kind of category that I would go into. As well as that, I used to do it before I went to sleep, and I think that's because it made the bad feelings go away for a while, and it does make bad feelings go away, but only in the short term, and it prolongs the bad feelings at the same time. But anyway, yes, try and see what kind of category you would fall into. So I've got a little thing I've written up here with a few points. When the level of emotional pressure becomes too high, it acts as a safety valve. So it's sort of a way of relieving tension. If you imagine, you sort of like, and this is very, very, very common, you sort of like keep on having pressures added to you again and again and again, whether it's schoolwork, stuff from the past, stuff from the future, this, that, things that you have to sort out, this, that, just everything, just, and you don't show it, you don't shout at anyone, you don't scream at anyone, you don't throw anything around like you want to, you don't punch a wall, you don't smash a window, you know. And do you ever get that feeling when you just want to break something? Like, I used to get it so that I wanted to bite something so hard that it just crumbled into millions of pieces, or I used to do that a lot, so that I'd be like doing that, and I used to almost want to draw blood just to get something to break. Or if I was writing something and it was stressing me out, I want to break a few pencils, and I used to break pencils all the time. It's that kind of feeling, except rather than wanting to break everything around you, you think, you know, and that's the kind of thing why people suddenly bash their heads on things. That's, you know, the reasons why people might pinch themselves, might go, oh, why people might bite their hand when they're nervous. It's that kind of, what do I do with this feeling? It's the reason why people smash mirrors. Have you ever wanted to smash a mirror before? The amount of stuff that mirror has lived through. Literally, the wall behind it has gone through more damage than that mirror. I have kicked it with all my might and it is not smashed, but the wall behind it, inside it, I've heard it crumbling away. So that mirror there is amazing. It's really amazing. But there is no way of getting it to budge. I have nothing to put in front of it. But, yeah, it's that kind of feeling, and it's the reason why people do these things. Like, have you ever done that thing where you've gone and you've punched your legs, and you really punch your legs hard and you think no one will see, and you punch harder and harder and harder, and you just want something to happen, and the next day when you see the slightest bit of bruise you're like, oh, and you're paying attention to it, and you wish that the bruise was worse. And it's just the same as self-harm in some ways. Or you hit your head and then the self-harmer might continue until they feel a nice lump come up. You know, they won't just be happy with it, because they're under a higher pressure than that. Have you ever done the thing where you so don't know what to do that you rip your hair? It's so common. I mean, I bet you guys have probably done all of these things I've mentioned. Even people who don't self-harm have probably done those things, because it's such a release. And that's the way that self-harm can work for some people, and I think almost everyone does use it as partly a release valve. Okay. Cutting makes the blood take away bad feelings. Now, this is a hard one to explain, because this is about cutting purely. Self-harm can cover anything from burning to overdosing, anything. But cutting, the blood takes away bad feelings. So in the same way that I told you it can make you see pain, like, it shows that you're alive. It's warm. I know that sounds horrible, but it's warm. It trickles, so there's that sensation. It's I'm trying to put this in a way that isn't triggering. it doesn't just relieve tension, it can literally take away bad feelings. Does that make any better sense? No, if you want to know more about that category, I'm afraid you have to search it up. I'm very scared of triggering anyone. Okay. Pain can make you feel more alive when feeling numb or dead inside. Now, I know a lot of people sort of, when they're suffering depression or when they're not suffering depression, just they can feel completely numb. They don't feel sad, so they don't say they have depression, but they don't feel alive. They just feel nothing. And for a long time I felt like that, and that's why I developed my eating disorder, was because I just liked the sound of my own heartbeat, and then every time I stood up I felt like, ooh, that made me feel alive, because I was so aware of my body. But self-harm can do the same, because the pain brings you back to your body. It's like, I have depersonalization, and I have for ages and ages and ages now. I've just gotten used to it. But self-harming can sometimes take those kinds of things away, because when you do it, it brings you straight to that little bit of your body. You know, you can feel it. You're alive. If you feel numb, you imagine numb, no feeling, nothing, and you do this. How can you not feel feeling? You can't sit there and just watch and not feel affected, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. You sort of do it and then you think, oh, and you're brought back to that area of your body. Oh, okay. I think sometimes, have you ever felt the need when doing self-harm to make as many marks all over your body as possible? Because then, if you imagine it, once you've made those marks, they hurt, don't they? They catch on your clothes when you walk there. Every time you bend your arm or whatever, it hurts on your body. And so your body is physically there, sensing things all the time for the next few days, because every time you move you're thinking ow, and it's all over your body. And that's part of the reason people might say, oh, okay, I'm going to do it all up my left arm and left leg, and people, you know, wouldn't understand why on earth you would want to do that. But I bet you felt that need. You think, okay, I'm going to cover my body. Everyone does it. Who self-harms, everyone has that thought. Okay, this is one I think some people sometimes mistake, because they mix it up with self-hate. But basically punishing oneself in response to feelings of shame or guilt. Now, this is one of the ones that I would have originally put myself into the category of, because I don't like myself and I feel like I deserve self-harm. But that isn't why I do it. And people might get mistaken. They might think, oh, okay, I self-harm because I want to punish myself because I'm a bad person. And I do feel like that when I self-harm. But I don't do it with the deliberate intention of punishing myself. I just think, oh, it's okay if I self-harm, I don't care because I'm a horrible person anyway, it doesn't matter, and I do it. But punishing yourself in response to feeling shame or guilt, that's more like, oh, I didn't do my homework, I'll have to punish myself. Oh, I didn't. It's sort of trying to make you act in a certain way. You're trying to make yourself act in a certain way. Maybe if I punish myself for this time, I won't do it again. You know, it's not a, oh, I went wrong, I'll do it. And then you say, oh, I'm punishing myself, because that in a way is just relieving tension of the fact that you've done something and you're ashamed of it and you're cutting, but you're not punishing. Does that make any sense? It's to remove the bad feelings rather than to punish. Punishment is all about discipline. Punishment is about sort of obedience, but not being defiant to your own feelings. Punishing yourself with self-harm would be more like trying to get yourself to behave in a certain way, like, oh, I spoke to blah 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 in that way, so I'll do it now. But if you enjoy self-harm, and let's face it, we do enjoy it, even though we hate it and we wish we could stop, we enjoy it. If you hated it and you did it, oh, it's so hard to explain, but Like, for example, once I did use it as a punishment, because I said if I didn't lose a stone by blah blah blah, I would cut my face, because I never want anyone to see me self-harm. So that would have been a punishment, and luckily I lost that weight. But if I had done it, that would have been a punishment because it's on my face. But arms, legs, blah blah blah, nah, I'm not bothered, so it wouldn't be a punishment. Even though I think, oh, it's pain, it's punishment, it doesn't, you know, I like it, so it's not a punishment. I hope that makes sense. When it's difficult to talk to anyone, it's a form of communication about unhappiness and a way of acknowledging the need for help. I should have reworded that. Basically. Okay, you guys are gonna hate me for this, and I know I would just turn off the video now if it was me. Because basically all self-harming, all eating disorders, all overdosing is a cry for help. I know, you're all gonna be like, "Ugh," but I'm not saying it's attention seeking. It is not attention seeking. Because you don't know you're doing it. You don't know, and you don't want people to find out. It's like self-harm eating disorder. I've never ever wanted anyone to find out. I regret so much that anyone found out about my eating disorder. Because how am I meant to lose weight when people are weighing me twice a week and doing this, that and the other? But it is a way of crying for help, even though you don't want people to find out. And that's what makes it so complicated. So complicated. There's nothing quite like it, because it's all subconscious. You're thinking, I don't want anyone to know how much pain I'm in, and yet you're cutting in a way that's visible. You've made the pain that's invisible and already hidden visible. You've actually drawn back the curtains on it, and you're hiding the marks. It's very confusing, because there's part of your brain that you can't listen to. It's your subconscious. You don't know what it's doing. You don't know why it is. It's fight or flight. It's your natural instincts. Why do bunnies gnaw at their legs? Why do birds pull out their feathers? You know, it's that natural instinct. And yet there's this other part of you thinking, no one must ever find out. You know, they'll think I'm a freak. They'll think, you know, I don't want them to know that I'm upset. I don't want them to know I'm weak. And you think, you know, but it is a cry for help. It is a cry for help, because you're saying, look, even though you're not showing anyone, your body is saying, look, I'm stressed out my mind. Look, are you gonna cry or what? Because if you're not, I'm gonna, you know, and yeah. Okay. Moving on. Self-harm gives a sense of control that's missing elsewhere in life. Now, I've always got peed off when people say, oh, eating disorders are about control, because I feel like there must be at least one person with an eating disorder that isn't doing it for control. But self-harm, let me think. Basically, this is just one reason. I don't think that all self-harm is for control. I think that it does give you a sense of control, no matter what type of self-harmer you are, but I don't think that that's necessarily the reason that you do it. I think for some people the reason that they do it is definitely the sense of control. If they're losing control of their life, or if things are changing, or if there's been something emotional or distressing happening to you, then that you don't have control of, then yeah, self-harm, you have control of that. And people always make it sound so open and just doesn't quite fit, like, oh, to give you control. And they just say that like, well, what doesn't give you control? You know, getting up in the morning and choosing your breakfast gives you control. You know, deciding what food you're going to get your cat is control. You know, why is self-harm a particular part of control that's so important? But basically, it's the idea that you have control of your own body. For example, some people get stressed out during puberty because their body's changing and they can't change that unless they develop an eating disorder or they affect their body literally in some way. They cannot change that. However, you can take control of it with eating disorders, with self-harm, etc. You actually can take control of something that no one can take control of, or at least you can prolong it for a while from happening. But that's sort of what they mean by a sense of control. It's a sense of control over yourself. That's why maybe you might make lists, because although that doesn't mean you can officially control the world around you, it does mean you can control yourself, you know. Why does it look like my eyebrow is permanently raised? But yeah, okay. Sometimes I think, particularly overdosing, self-harm can sort of represent a want for death. For example, I think my eating disorder is very much like that. You're not necessarily aiming to die, just that you're taking risks and then you're leaving it up to fate. You're sort of saying, oh, I'll overdose or whatever, and if I die, I'll die, and if I don't, I don't. I'll self-harm deeper or whatever. If I need stitches, I do. If I don't, I don't. You know, I'll stop eating. If I lose weight till I die, I will, and if I don't, I won't. You know. I think this is actually the way for lots of people, and it can get very confusing once they go on that path, because then they think, on one chance I'm living, so maybe I'm not going to die, maybe I really need to focus on getting better soon before I completely wreck my life in this obsession with self-destruction, and then you think, I just need to try harder, you know. But you're not scared by death, just, no, if I die, I die. But some people turn it into an aim, but then they think, but it's not an aim because I'm staying alive, you know. If it's my aim, why don't I just die? And then people try and trick themselves into thinking, oh, I'm just doing it slowly so that I die miserably. Yeah, I'm not going to go into a whole section about that, but basically those are my sort of 6 or 7-ish categories. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what kind of category you think you would fit under, or just about this video in particular, or about your experience. Just feel free to comment anyway, no matter what, because I do love commenters, and I will see you guys soon, so thank you.